It's the latest episode of The Ugly Truth. Today, producer Deb is sitting in with me and we're talking about some of the things you need to discuss before you get hitched. Plus, I review Indian Matchmaker on Netflix. We talk about the harrowing story that producer Deb and my son were in over the weekend and some ugly and awkward moments of the week. Thank you so much for listening. Paula will be back next week. Enjoy the show.
It's another uncensored look at the world around you, from sisters who will say just about anything to anyone at any time. It's the Uggs. Jamie?
Mexicans and Russians will get the shit done. And producer Deb.
Would you still love me if my arm was cut off at the elbow?
Uncensored as always, it's time for the Ugly Truth.
Welcome to the Ugly Truth. This is episode 486.
Ugh.
Yes, this is a producer Deb episode, so if you want to skip it and catch up on the previous...
Never heard that joke before.
Previous, more high-quality episodes in which he edits to make us sound good, you go right ahead. But some of you like listening to him. I know we do have some listeners who enjoy the...
listener.
The banter. No, I think we have... Well, you know what? You would have to... check the
numbers,
the stats,
the numbers. Can I just, Paula doesn't know, can I just tell her that my episodes are record episodes?
No, I would, there's no lying in this business.
All right, okay.
There's no lying. Anyway, welcome to the Ugly Truth. This is actually interesting. Hold on. To turn on the light, I can't see.
Oh, okay.
Because the writing is too small. I wrote the notes way too small. So the other day, I thought this was kind of perfect timing.
Oh, okay.
How are you, by the way?
Thanks, love.
You're good?
Yeah.
Good. Glad to hear it. I'm good, too.
Awesome. I was about to ask.
Doing great. The pandemic is kind of getting to everybody a little bit. Have you noticed that?
A little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you really? Because
yeah.
I don't get the impression. Here's the thing. With men in general, I don't know if it's biological or if it's the way we raise our boys in this country or in the world. But it seems to me that women are the ones that are going a little more insane with the pandemic. Or are we just accustomed to expressing our emotions or being a little more honest about how we're not faring as well?
Well, I think it's normal gender differences being amplified, right? So for me, if I'm going a little bit, not me personally, but as a guy, like men, if they're going a little bit crazy, then it's a little bit more down the road because generally speaking, we're more aloof, right? We're like, whatever, right?
Yeah, you just adapt.
But if we're not doing that or starting not to do that or noticing that that's being aloof isn't enough anymore to kind of avoid the perils of life, as it were.
There's a couple of interesting trends going on now that this pandemic is here to stay until there's a vaccine or however, thinning of the herd. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I hope
it's the former, but yes.
But what's interesting is these, like you and I went to Tahoe for our anniversary weekend last weekend, and it was unbelievably crowded. I was shocked. I've never seen Tahoe that busy, and I don't mean bumper to bumper cars. I mean just people everywhere.
Yeah.
And ironically, when we returned, there was a news story about Bay Area workers who are going, why the hell am I living here when I'm going to be working from home for the rest of my career with this company? I can do this anywhere with a good Wi-Fi. So they are leaving the city and going to other areas in which their money would stretch further because anywhere outside of the Bay Area is better. Even our server at the restaurants were like, oh yeah, we've got a shit ton of Bay Area people living up here because they can.
I think we have not seen the end of this altering what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. So we communicate pretty well.
I would think so.
During the pandemic, you and I have not suffered the COVID divorce or the COVID separation where we feel like we can't stand each other anymore.
We have 2 floors, so I
think it's because we went through our rough patch a decade ago.
Sure.
So now we worked through a lot of our bullshit, and so now we know how to express ourselves respectfully, to say, you're being an asshole. I'm going upstairs. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And that happens, right?
Sure.
You don't call me an asshole, but I don't even. Okay. Anyway. So
don't out yourself.
Here's what's weird. It's not weird. It's only weird if you've never been married or if you're brand new married and things are rocky. And honestly, I don't know why you would get married right now. This is like the worst time to start a marriage because y'all are cooped up up, and it's really only cute for about a month, and then you're like, oh, I gotta get out. You know, you're like, I hate it.
I think if you were already well on your way, but I don't know why you would do a whole courting kind of like.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Like I could see getting married now because you've been together and you were planning it anyway.
I suppose.
But
nobody can leave.
But
nobody's going to work.
Guys, do not propose during this shit.
Oh my God. It doesn't.
Don't.
Way too many drunken nights together going, you know what, I love you. You're my best friend. Let's get married. It's like, oh, what did we do? It would be terrible. It would. I mean, not everybody, but in general, I think it's a bad idea. Okay, so this woman tweeted this thread about, it's called Don't Get Married Before, ... Okay, so she did this thread, and she had like 20, but to me, there was way too many similarities. So I broke it down, but I was reading this going, this feels like just simple logic. But if you are madly in love because the sex is real good and you're young and everybody's bodies look hot naked and, you know, there's no kids and you got one cute little dog and you're doing just a really fun single couple thing, then you may not necessarily have these deep discussions because, you know, fucking is way too much funner. You know, you don't want to have deep discussions, and that is the truth. I don't think that's a lie. So I broke it down, but we'll go through some of them quickly. Okay. So the first one is finances. Don't get married until you talk about finances.
Okay, so
who's
don't
gonna
get
do
married
what?
Before you do this.
Have a discussion. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So finances, who's going to pay for what? Who's going to do what? Will there be separate bank accounts? Will there be, you know, what's your spending habits? Are you have a savings, blah, blah, blah. It's funny because I don't know. Did we talk about, I don't remember even it.
Well,
first of all, I don't get mad at money, so I don't really like. Right. I've never had a problem with that.
That part I remember discussing. Like, you know, I think we were very early on. We were not going to let. Well, first of all, you have to have something to argue about it.
Well, that is true. You do have to have money. Although, if you have money and you have one person who goes out and immediately buys video games or beer, it's not good.
Wait, or makeup? Come on,
makeup is not a video game. You need makeup to make money. You don't need a video game to make money.
Why do you need makeup to make money?
To look presentable to the public.
Oh my God.
That has to happen. Children. When? How many? What happens if you're infertile? Would you adopt? And, you know, I remember having that discussion with you.
Well, I knew you weren't infertile, and you knew I wasn't infertile, so.
But I do remember us talking about adoption.
Yes.
And we were both like, But I think it's because when you're fortunate and you don't have to worry about fertility, then it's not really on the table.
Worry about fertility is not a phrase I'd ever heard you say.
It's true. This one was interesting. STDs.
Oh, like have you ever had any?
Have you ever had any? Do you get tested before you get married? Now, back in the day, you had to have a blood test to test for STDs to even get a license.
That's right.
I don't know when that ended. But I'm like, now it's like, man, they should probably still do that. That'd be kind of interesting. But that's under the assumption that, you know, I don't know. Like, don't give your virgin bride VD. I'm not really sure why they did it, but they used to do it. You used to have to get a blood test to get anything, but now you don't. And then the other is, how do you have an agreement to continue the testing per request when you're married? Like, if you think there's been some infertility or some concerns, how do you agree that if requested, you will go and get it done?
This is starting to sound a lot like the relationship agreement on Big Bang Theory.
I'm just saying, it's something that you should talk about. Like, is there some kind of arrangement that should you want them to get?
There's an emergency red button I can push
to demand a blood test.
And if you hear that, that means you've agreed that I think you're cheating, and therefore you need to go get tested.
Right. Anger management. Is anger an issue for you? Do you take it out on others? How do you handle your anger? Would you go to therapy to work on it if it was bad? To me, that seems like you are talking to someone you don't know very well.
Yeah, so that my thinking is that if you have to have a discussion about that topic, then don't get married.
Exactly. That's the point of this.
Like, why would you marry somebody that you had to have a pre-marriage conversation about anger management?
This one was interesting. Stupid. Clothing.
Wait, the lack thereof of style?
Clothing, it matters. Like your choices in dress. If one is very, very casual where someone else is super dressy, that can affect the relationship. And I agree with that, actually.
That's weird.
Well, think about it.
Seems like a...
What if you were dating a woman who only wore dresses and heels no matter what the occasion, and you wore cargo shorts and Crocs and a White Stag t-shirt from Walmart every day.
Again, slightly different than the anger management. But why would you be with that person?
You don't know their life. It happens. Sexual compatibility, duh. Energy. Does your energy level match? Are you with someone who's like a little slug, or are you a little Tigger?
But these are not...
You're acting like opposites never attract. And there has to be a discussion about it.
Yeah.
Or at least a consideration. In the long term, you may love someone who's super energetic and you're not.
Maybe I'm overthinking it because of the first few felt like finances feels like a conversation you need to have.
I know.
Whereas things like clothing and energy levels,
because
I don't know how you have a conversation about that.
Okay, I will tell you why.
You just are or you aren't?
No. In the beginning, you go, well, I think it's cute that he always wears this or that. And then 10 years, you're like, I fucking hate those shorts. I don't know why you have those. You're like, this is who I am.
No, here's the thing, though. If you go from it's cute to I hate them more than anything in 10 years, it has nothing to do with the fucking shorts.
Okay. But
nothing.
I'm just saying it's something you have to discuss. And by the way,
I don't think you do.
Well, I got rid of all your cargo shorts.
I know that,
so.
but that's my thing. Saying. It's like it had nothing to do with the shorts. It had to do with the fact that you hate each other now.
It's called compromise. Okay.
Doesn't feel like a discussion to me.
Opposite gender boundaries, which I think is incredibly important.
Oh, that's an interesting
Is it okay to hug or kiss opposite sex, friends, colleagues, dinners, lunches?
I would hope you had been out enough to know.
What are you comfortable with? You don't necessarily.
But that's a good call.
I have to say, I am very unhappy with anybody that I am fucking touching another woman.
Sure.
Other than a handshake. I'm even cool with a hug if I'm present.
Well, and if it's family,
that's not the same. I'm talking opposite sex people.
Yeah.
The only way I can do it is, I think, would my man be okay with me hugging this gentleman that I'm not fucking or even related to in this manner?
Huh.
And would I like it if he did it to some other woman with big tits? I would hate it.
Oh, you threw in the big tits part.
Well, because I know that's the only reason you would hug another woman.
Oh, God.
And so...
No. But that sounds like a topic you would. That one I agree. That sounds like something you would have a discussion
Because would you want, or like,
because I would not want to be surprised by something.
I will say, you and I have refined this raw edge because there were social media discussions about, certain people you are friends with or how you chat or, anything. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty territorial, but I also know what happens if you let that shit go.
Oh,
for me, not other people. No. I know a couple who are very flirtatious with other people that they're not married to, and it's okay with them. Yeah. They're fine with it. I don't know how you can be, but that's because I'm not built like that.
You're not wired that way, yeah.
Okay, social media, same thing.
Sure.
But it's like, is it okay to post about your business without the other person's permission? So it's like, it's another boundary. It's like, is it okay for someone to post unedited, unapproved photos of your significant other?
That we know the answer is no in this family.
In this coupledom, it is not appropriate. It needs full approval. Or, like details of what you've been doing or what you're doing. Like, what's the level of privacy that you want? I'm incredibly private. And you know that now, of course. And we've learned that the hard way. Also, infidelity. What is the definition of infidelity for you? I think that's a super important discussion because for some people, an emotional affair is just as bad as putting your dick or allowing somebody to have sex with you. I think it's a betrayal. A betrayal is a betrayal. Yeah. But some people may not feel that way. So I think that's an important discussion. Sure. I agree with that as well. And then finally, my favorite, dying wishes.
Oh, God.
Advanced directives, wills, what do you want done if you're paralyzed? Which I thought was hilarious. Because how many discussions have I had where I'm like, if I lose an eye, will you still love me?
Yes, all the time. Actually, what's great about those conversations is where they come from, which is this little place I like to call nowhere. They come out of nowhere. It doesn't lead to a conversation. We can literally be watching a show or driving to go out to dinner or listening to a song and then be like, would you still love me if my arm was cut off at the elbow?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? But then again, I've come to expect those things, so they shock me a hell of a lot less than they did early in our marriage.
Or, questions like, if I'm in a coma, would you pull the plug?
Well, those are a little more serious.
Well, but that's the whole point, is that you kind of need to know. And it's just like, I know that Daryl would never want to be like this. And you're laying there going, yes, I would. And I'm like, no, he wouldn't. And pull the plug. I got to get out of here. It's expensive. No, I'm just kidding. I would never, unless you want to be too. That's the whole point. Or final burial, whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, we barely discuss that stuff, even now. I mean, it comes up
I've changed my mind. I've changed my mind a million times.
And none of our children or I know for sure what you want to happen. So
I don't know what you want. I literally don't know what you want.
There's a just-in-case folder in the file cabinet.
But you've not shared with me what you want. Is it something unusual? Do you want a Viking's funeral?
That would be awesome, actually.
Well, see, now there's a reason for me to take archery lessons.
See?
There we go.
Right.
There we go.
You can have a bow and arrow now.
Thank you. Thank you. I know you...
Although you realize that you don't need one that with an arrowhead on it to do that. It just needs to...
But it's got to have fire on it.
I know, but
that'd
it's just
be
a
cool.
ball.
Whatever. I think it'd be great.
I'm not a fan of lots of sharp objects in the house.
Oh, for me to have?
Yes.
That's why I don't have any power tools.
Power tools.
Annoying. I want a nail gun. No, don't give me a nail gun.
Dale,
I want a fucking nail gun. All right. Well, we're done anyway. Okay, so those are the basic.
Yeah, some of those were better than others.
And here's the thing with lists like this. First of all, it went just wildfire on Twitter.
That?
There were 20,
geez.
but they were all kind of the same to me, so I didn't really. But I was like, this is so funny because all of this is it's a moot point if you communicate effectively.
Sure.
So really,
most of it.
The list should say, 1, learn to communicate effectively with your partner. Yeah. Figure out how you guys talk and communicate with each other. Now, we were very fortunate before we were a couple. Our personalities, for whatever reason, we communicated so effectively. We were such a great work team that it inevitably became a romance. But I mean, after a while, but still, I think that's why we're so good
we're
at
a good team.
Communicating. Anyway, speaking of, as you know, talking about needing solitude, I need a lot of solitude. You come to learn this. Mm-hmm. So over the weekend, I was binge watching some Netflix. One of the shows I'm going to talk to Paula about on the next episode, so I won't mention it, but I also binge watched in 2 days Indian Matchmaking on Netflix. I was curious because, we've always heard about arranged marriages in other societies, other cultures where they arrange marriages. A lot of them are very successful.
Wait, so is this arranging marriages or is it just straight matchmaking?
Well, this is what's interesting. In India, depending on what part of India, because India is massive, the culture and the society in which these different Indian cultures are, it's different.
Okay.
Love marriage is not common in the more affluent families in India. They rely on a matchmaker to either arrange a marriage if the son specifically will not settle, or just meet and they both get to agree that yes, we will get married.
Right, got it.
Okay, so I was actually really surprised. There was a lot of people in the United States.
That's what I was going to ask. Does this take place in India or is it just
several
people from India?
Several do, but then several people with an Indian culture living in the United States.
Got it.
So what's funny is the American Indian, way different because they're more independent.
They're more far removed from the tradition, right?
But they want someone in their culture to marry.
Yeah, I think that's common.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, that's probably fair.
But what I ultimately first of all, no one got married. And the update is...
Oh, so the matchmaker sucks then, basically.
She doesn't. She's the best in the country.
Well, then no. Okay.
But this is what she says.
Things have changed, clearly.
She said, things have changed. The new generation is very independent. They want choice. They want the right to decide. And the men especially, and they're all super attractive. Yeah. They have turned down over 100 women.
Good Lord.
To even meet.
Well, India is not small. There's a lot of people.
And they're all stunningly beautiful people. Yeah. I was like, okay, you can just close your eyes and pick one and go, gorgeous. They're usually models. Yeah. They're professional. They're, because education's incredibly important.
Yeah.
So going through and it's like, you have the best of the best, cream of the crop, and you're still like, I don't know. And so then you go to the United States.
Maybe that's the problem, is that there's
Maybe.
There's too much cream of the crop.
Maybe.
So you always think there's something better, right?
They're not even looking for better. In fact, they all say the same thing. Like, just because they're beautiful doesn't mean that they're quality humans. They're not necessarily good people. Were there
people on there that weren't quality humans? I mean, like, were they assholes? Were they...
Lots.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot, actually. And so in the United States, they're just like, I just want somebody in my culture.
Were the United States Indians, meaning like the ones based here, more assholes?
No.
No,
not at all.
No.
In fact, the reality that people who are living in the United States who are craving someone in their culture who will understand all of the stuff that goes with their religion or just their society, they called it their society a lot, is that's what they want. They don't want to have to fight through explaining everything to somebody who doesn't get it.
Totally get it.
But they're very picky about what kind of Indian. They don't want
like from where?
Yes.
Oh,
they want
like geography.
Geography is imperative, which was very interesting.
Well, I guess that makes sense though, right? Because, obviously being in the United States, there's a very huge difference between, well, in most cases, somebody from here versus somebody from Oklahoma versus somebody from New York. Yeah. India's even bigger, so why wouldn't it be that way?
There was one woman, she lived in New Jersey, New York. One of the most beautiful women. I mean, she's so beautiful. She was tall, and being tall and fair-skinned is very attractive in the community. Her family's from India, but they all moved to Guyana, which is like Africa. But they're Indian.
Okay.
But it's a big deal. Most Indian men will not date her because she's not from India. They think she's from Africa, but she's not from Africa.
So she was born in India and they moved. Okay.
They moved it, and they know their history. She's like, well, we were there until the 1800s.
Oh, geez.
And then our family migrated to Guyana, and that's where we ultimately lived. And then we moved to the United States. And most Indian men are like, nah. No thanks. Pass. They will not. It took a long time for the matchmaker to find men who were okay with her not coming direct from India. It was so surprising. So that kind of stuff was super good. I really loved it. I strongly recommend people watching it. But it was really interesting because, first of all, arranged marriages is not just Indian. I mean, Asia, a lot of people do it, and probably even here to some degree, but I don't really know.
The gypsies.
That's a derogatory term, young man. You're not allowed to say that.
It's a TV show you used to watch.
Yeah, and people don't like that term, apparently.
I apologize to all the gypsies.
Listen, even white trash have their standards, okay? You can't call them gypsies. I have learned this.
You wore a dress made of dollar bills.
I know.
Shut the fuck up.
Right. So all of our non-G-worded listeners, I'm sorry. Anyway, I highly recommend it. It was really good. And so the spoiler alert is none of them are married. Even the one that got engaged. They're all single.
Oh, so someone got as far as getting engaged.
The one that was getting so much damn pressure from his mother, she had a BP machine in her house, and she's like, look, Akshar, my blood pressure. You must choose a bride. I mean, it was super serious. So he finally chose one. And then at the end, when I read this update on Vanity Fair, and it says, where's everybody now? And it's like, none of them are married. The one that got the closest to the wedding, the engagement ended. She had to give back all of her prized possessions that she was given for becoming the bride because they said there were trust issues. I'm like, okay. She made it really clear in the first meeting that she wasn't giving up her career, and she was like an accountant or something. And he comes from a really traditional home where he expected his wife to stay home and take care of him. He goes, if she's working, who's supposed to take care of me? It's not going to be me. And they all move in with the parents.
What?
That's the old school way of doing it. So like his,
permanently, or
so like his big brother got married at 19, which is the appropriate age, and then they can't have a baby until the younger brother gets married because the bride can't be pregnant during the wedding.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with living with parents?
That's just the tradition. Everybody lives. But first of all,
I didn't know that.
They're very wealthy. It does not matter. Well, so I mean, they have tons of room. But she's like, this is my house. I set up the rules. I decide. Yeah. And the brides that come in, they come to me to how do we make our husbands happy? And I'm like, I would never.
Well, cultures are different. So
they couldn't find anyone to do it. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
But cultures evolved too. So
they have evolved. And so the matchmaker was like, look, it is what it is. She goes, my goal is just for everybody to have a happy life. She's like, if they come to me and it works, and she's had over like 1,200 successful marriages in like 2 years or something. It was some unbelievable number.
So it does happen. Just
we just saw.
You know what though? You have to assume too that anyone willing to be on a TV show about it is probably not your average person that she gets.
I would agree with that.
They need to amp that up a little bit. They need.
Well, I would think that true.
I'm sure they picked these people.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, they're beautiful.
What?
All of them.
That's my point.
Yes.
Not just the beauty part, but just my point is that even in a reality show, normal, whether it's left. No, I don't mean politically, but left or right, really one end of the spectrum normal to super
crazy,
hot, whatever looking, whatever. It's very difficult to be average person and be on television, even in a reality show.
Totally boring. So anyway, that's the show. Indian Matchmaking. I highly recommend it.
Was it like one season, two seasons?
Just one season. So, I don't think there'll be these cool documentary things that they're putting on Netflix right now, I'm not getting the impression there will be a second or a third season.
What was the documentary to reality TV blend there? Was it
there was
all documentary?
Scripted. Nothing scripted.
Well, I don't mean scripted because reality TV isn't always scripted. But...
Well, a lot of their first dates, the parents are there. It's really traditional. I don't think
so. It was more documentary than it was. Okay,
absolutely.
Fair.
So highly recommend. Cool. And then I'll talk about the other one next week with Paula, which is Love on the Spectrum, which a lot of people have been watching.
That'll be Wednesday's show. Then,
yes, and that'll be Wednesday's show, and I have nothing but good things to say about that show as well.
Awesome.
Which is far more real.
So this is what you're doing upstairs when I'm downstairs wandering around the West on my horse. In Red Dead Redemption or shooting things on Call of Duty.
Trying to find sleeping possums. Yes,
Got it.
That's what you're doing.
Yes.
All right.
God, that challenge. Oh
in your life,
yes,
you and I have not created a son organically together. But,
not that I'm aware of.
But my son is now essentially your son. Yeah. You feel like you guys are basically like father-son. You've raised him since he was 5.
Super little. Yep.
So
now he's 100.
I know. You and I helped him buy a new car.
Yes.
But it wasn't brand new. It was a used certified car that he just is absolutely in love with. But it is a manual and it's a VW, which is basically a Porsche, just not as fancy inside, but the motor and all that, it's basically the same thing based on what my dad used to tell me.
Sure.
Well, he's like, they're literally the same car.
Yeah.
I mean, a few things are different, but I mean, in general, it's exactly the same motor.
Yeah.
He goes, you can put a rubber band and it'll run. They're super easy. So our son got one.
Yes.
And it's a manual, which was hard to deal with, but he's so meticulous about caring for his vehicle.
Yeah.
And then he called you on Friday at 6:00. And what happened?
So he's had the car for 3.5 weeks.
Yes.
And as part of his meticulous care, so he takes it to a place he's taken his cars previously. This will be relevant here in a minute, but he has the oil changed, and because it had never been, and it turned out that it was a good thing, he had the transmission fluid all clean, renewed, flushed out and done. So when he calls me at that time of night, there's usually something he needs help with.
Okay.
Like it's not, otherwise he would text me, right? You know what I mean? So calls so I was trying to be all played off. I was like, yes, I would like you to pick me up a couple of beers at that brew pub you go to. Cause I thought he was there. And he laughed and he goes, no, I'm not there. I'm at the gas station. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I know.
That car's meticulous and 3 weeks old.
I know.
What in the actual fuck? He goes, the check engine light went on this morning. I didn't notice anything wrong, but the check engine light went on.
Mm-hmm.
So I called, made an appointment at the dealership to take it in.
Mm-hmm.
Then, and I'm not going to drag this out, but then he goes, I'm driving it home. I get a block from work and I get into second gear and it won't accelerate.
Oh my God.
So I but I slow drive
Baby it
into this gas station and I get into a parking spot and we're good. I'm here. But I don't think I should drive this thing. I'm never going to get home. It won't go over 10, 15 miles an hour.
That's insane. And he's like 40 minutes away from home.
And so it's clearly a transmission issue, right? There's something going on there. So I'm like, okay, well, I will call. We've got good insurance on it. We just put them on our policy and it's got the roadside assistance. So I go online, I book the tow truck and I said, okay, they said they're going to be there within an hour, but I'm going to come and get you anyway. I'm going to come.
Yeah.
So I drive there. And plus, as it turns out, because of COVID, they don't want you riding with the tow truck drivers.
Right. So he'd need a ride
he would have needed a ride anyway. So I get down there and I park right next to him and we are facing the AM/PM watching lovely world that is Elk Grove, the humanity of people that go into an AM PM
By
at
the
8
freeway.
o'clock at night by the freeway.
Yeah.
So the people watching was fairly decent. But so we're there and everything's online now, so we can see tow truck's going to be here in an hour, right? And actually by that time it was a half hour. So we get there and the tow truck thing changes to tow truck is on site, and we're like,
where is he?
no fucking tow truck here. So we call and they go, oh, we're a half hour away. So I was like, fuck, okay. So now it's already going to take 90 minutes.
Okay.
So tow truck comes within a half hour, big flatbed truck, no big deal. And turns out that these VWs have what's called a tow hook.
Mm-hmm.
So their frames are relatively soft, so they don't like to be pulled,
right.
because you can literally break
Pull the
or
whole
bend them, pulling them up onto the tow bed. So they have a little thing that there's a little spot, and it's like a little eye hook, and you literally screw it into the bumper of the car, and that is a place where you can tow it up. Well, this is an 8-year-old used car, no tow hook.
Oh no,
he doesn't have one.
Oh.
It's normally where like the spare tire is,
Okay.
right? So the guy's helping us look, and we're looking, nothing.
Oh no.
So he goes, I can't tell you.
He's not gonna try?
No.
Great.
No, and I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
So flatbed, no go. He goes, sorry guys. So okay. So I call the insurance company again. I go, okay, we need a wheeler or a wrecker tow, somebody that can put skates under this thing and pull it up. And they're like, okay, we'll rebook one for you. 90 minutes.
So now you've been there for almost 3 hours.
So no, at this point, less than 2 still.
Oh, okay.
Less than 2. And they said 90 minutes, but they've got the right kind of truck.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. So again, on the app, it's been ordered, blah, blah, blah. We get about an hour in, and I'll get back to what we were doing all this time in a minute, but we get back to the hour happens. I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to call just to see if they're at least on their way. Call. Oh, I'm sorry. We informed the insurance company like 45 minutes ago that there's an accident and we're canceling and we're not coming.
Oh, how nice.
Which they never called us and told us the tow company was not coming.
What a nightmare.
Right? And so now,
fucking hate
so
this
now I call the insurance company again.
This is the part of life that just makes
and by the way,
so...
it's not the insurance company. It
doesn't matter.
It's the company they hired to do all this.
It's the whole thing. It sucks.
So then, now I call a third time, and they don't have any they don't have his policy number. I don't know what this guy, I don't know if it went after hours and now they're using some other company or something, because they had no access. They can't order a tow truck for a car they don't see a policy on.
Dude, you told me that and you're all nightmare, and I'm like, fucking leave the car.
Get this. So Tyler, who is a parts manager at a body shop and speaks the auto language, gets out of the fucking truck, slams the door, and I see him pick up the phone. And so I'm now off the phone going, fuck, we're just going to have to call a tow truck. We're just going to have to call one.
Yeah.
And I hear him, Ivan. And I'm like, what is he doing? He's like, Ivan, 15 minutes? You're not fucking with me. Like 15 minutes, you can be here. Now, listen to me, Ivan. I do not have a tow hook. Like, do you have a truck that can get my car on the tow truck? And he's like, no problem. I just know he's like Russian, dude. Like, no problem, Tyler. I get you. I got you, man. So... because we're in his neighborhood anyway of where he works, so he knows these people. They tow trucks there all the time, I'm sure. Yeah. So what pulls up? Flatbed tow truck.
Right.
Same fucking truck we had 4 hours ago. Not same company, but same kind of truck. And I'm like, Tyler. And he's like, no, we're going to figure this out. This fucking dude pulls up, drops the ramp. Tyler gets in the car and he goes, Tyler, drive. And he just fucking drives the car up onto the tow truck. I'm like, we could have done this 4 fucking hours ago.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, the reason that we didn't is that guy was insurance and liability, and this is fucking Ivan. Yeah. Ivan doesn't give 0 fucks.
Yeah.
Drive it up here, and he made that shit work.
Yeah.
A couple $100 later, we'll get reimbursed, whatever, and we got home.
Oh my God.
So it was a fucking nightmare.
You know what? Fucking Russians they will
best.
Get Mexicans and Russians will get the shit done. They
like
will.
It's like that line.
No joke.
It's like that line in Hamilton. Immigrants, we get the job done.
They do, man.
So anyway, now what was funny about all this is the 4.5 to 5 hours that we were here in my truck and what we were doing. So for example, we watched that. You sent us that viral video about those 2 teenagers singing the Phil Collins in the air tonight for the first time.
Yeah.
Tyler was on the phone with his girlfriend. He's like, hold on, I got to call you back. And he hangs brings up, and we're watching this video and we're cracking up at that. We're talking about video games, and he's like, fuck. I was like, did you eat? Like, did you? He's like, I was like, not that there's good food here. It's AM, PM or whatever. And he's vegan on top of it. So not a lot of vegan shit at the AM, PM.
Probably not. Cheetos are vegan.
Okay. In fact, I think he said he had Cheetos earlier in the day. I was like, well, go get a beer or something. Like, just let's chill. And he goes, they don't have any tall boys that I was like, I looked at him like, hello. And he goes, all right, I'll go buy a 6-pack. So he goes and he buys a 6-pack. And now we're drinking and talking and shooting the shit.
Anything good? Anything I don't know about?
Nah, just he was talking about his house and what he wants to do. He's moving out, so he's moving, I should say, and he's got this basement. He's gonna have his little corner. Yeah, he's guitar, and he's pretty excited about it. But yeah, the bonding part was, and the time just spending, which we don't get to do very often, was great. But
silver lining.
What a fucking nightmare that was, man.
Dude. You guys didn't get home till almost 1 a.m.
I joked with him. I was like, Tyler, if this next tow truck doesn't work out, we're gonna go get 2 pieces of wood, and you're gonna drive that little fucking thing in the back of my truck.
Yeah,
because it's a little Volkswagen GTI, and like it's pretty close. It could fit. It will probably fit. So, speaking of, let's circle back to what's actually wrong with the vehicle. First of all, it's at a shop. It clearly was transmission. When we pulled the car out, transmission fluid all over the fucking place. It's under the hood spraying.
Oh my God.
And transmission fluid had completely leaked out.
Oh, I think we know what happened.
Yeah, that fucking place didn't know what they were doing. Yeah. They did something wrong, because there was nothing wrong with the vehicle when we bought it. We test drove it. We did the whole thing. We had it looked at. But they clearly, when they changed out the transmission stuff, literally 3 days earlier, they gas. I don't know anything about that shit, but some kind of gasket, something they didn't do right.
They did not return it to its original.
We don't know for sure, but hopefully, and the fact that the check engine light went on made me think there's no pressure. There's something's happening. Yeah. So it's not like it was some surprise type deal. So my hope is that his decision to not drive it anymore is going to prevent it from being some expensive problem. So there was our adventure.
I don't know. I was exhausted.
I had video games to play. That really pissed me off. No, it was fine. I mean, it was good to hang out with him, but not under, I much rather would have done it under different circumstances. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, but you get your time when you can.
Sure.
What are you going to do?
I'll take it.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll take it.
Anyway, all right. Well, let's do some ugly. Do you have an ugly and awkward moment this week?
I think it would qualify.
Okay, I definitely do.
Oh, jeez.
Only share one.
Okay.
And then I'll save
one in the holster.
I'll save one for next time. Yes. Okay. So please, what is your ugly and awkward moment of the week?
So this will be short, but it's, as you know, we have a camera on our front porch.
Yes.
Okay. Just typical, like not highfalutin or anything, just a typical camera that lets us, so we can see if people are coming to the door or whatever. So yesterday I was walking outside, and as we discussed on our little walk to our mailbox last night, I have fairly sensitive feet, and yet somehow refuse to just put slides or flips on to go outside and just go out my bare feet to just, because I was just going to the truck.
Stop saying the F word, please.
Feet. Don't hit me.
Oh my God. What are you doing? Okay. Leg hands, please. Anything. You're hurting my ears.
Okay, sorry.
And you're making me sick.
All right. So I went outside sans shoe.
Yes.
And took 2 steps down. I was just walking to my truck.
Get on with it. I don't want to hear about your leg hands anymore.
So I got 2 steps down and immediately stepped on a rock of some kind. And I didn't fall, but I took a very ow kind of tumble, right? And
did you get it on camera?
So the only thing, I didn't look. I know it's there, but that's my point of the ugly and awkward moment was I was not concerned at all about my injury. I was way more immediately concerned about what I looked like on camera.
Well, I will say this.
I was like, damn it, an ugly and awkward moment on film.
I will tell you this. The likelihood of me looking for it is very small.
No, I know.
Because I don't like seeing myself on that fucking thing. So I delete everything. If I know I've come in and out from shopping or walking or whatever, I'm just deleting. I'm like, I don't want to see my big ass. No way. And it's a bad angle.
See, when I travel, I look for your
It's a bad angle. So I'm like, this is inappropriate.
Anyway, yours.
Funny. Okay. This will be when we went to Tahoe.
Okay.
You and I had a fairly okay dinner the first night.
Yep.
But the second night we made up for it. We were able to snag a reservation at probably the nicest non-casino restaurant in South Lake Tahoe, which is
Edgewood.
I want to say
it's at the
I kept wanting to say Everwood.
Yeah.
It's Edgewood, and it's their main fancy restaurant. They have several there, but that's the nicest of the ones because you have a full glass wall where you can see the sunset
and the lake. Yeah.
And the lake, it's beautiful, and we got a really nice premium spot because, we get lucky sometimes. And so we were waiting, and because of the pandemic, they don't like people standing around waiting.
Right.
So we're like, blah, blah, blah. So I said, well, I'm going to go to the bathroom really quick. And then we went outside. So I went downstairs. Of course, the bathroom is downstairs. Of course, God forbid, which is why I don't wear heels when you and I do anything, because I go into the bathroom. Now, this is a super, super old school golf course, country club type place.
It's a premium course.
Well, it's world class. Yes. I mean, they have the Pro-Am there every year, and it's beautiful. So everything's really high-end falutin. So I go into the bathroom stall, and there's a few people, but the doors are like top to bottom, like there's no gap. So it's like super private.
Oh, in the stall?
In the stall. So it's like you literally are opening a door to a room to get in. And when you close it, it has like a latch, just like a door does. I'm like, oh, sweet. So I did all that, and I sat down and I peed, and I got up, and I'm like, okay. So I locked myself in. I could not get out.
Oh, no. Is that why you took so long?
Yes. And I'm like, okay, what happened? So I'm unlocking and locking and pulling, going, pulling on the door. I'm like, okay, relax. Panicking's going to make this worse.
Breathe.
And there are people going, I can hear people talking like, okay, well, Daddy's waiting for us. We have to go. And I'm just like, okay, relax. I can wait for everyone to leave and crawl out under if I have to.
Wait, you said it went to the floor.
Well, I could literally go all the way across if I had to. There's like the sides were lifted, but the front door I couldn't.
Tell me you did not do that.
So I'm like, well, I hadn't gotten to that point yet.
Okay, good.
But I'm like, all right, let's just try this a couple more times. It took me a good 10 times to get the combination of this latch and the door correct. Then finally it opened. I went, never again. Never again. I'm holding it.
Pee my pants first.
I am definitely not coming back to this place. So I'm like, I quickly washed my hands and I walked out, and you're looking at me like, where the fuck have you been?
It did take forever.
Locked in the head.
I thought it was really far away. I didn't realize you had a whole...
No, I had a whole thing.
Megillah.
There was a whole thing going on. And I'm like, God damn it. I can't do anything. And whenever things get really fancy, I mean, awkward goes into overdrive.
Of course.
I'm not built. It's funny because Tyler and I were talking about how we had a really nice balcony when we went. And I said, oh, yeah, the hotel was nice. We had a super nice balcony, second story. So everybody at the beach could see us in jealousy because we were in the shade and we didn't have to be around anyone. It was really cool. And I said it was at that moment I realized, I'm like, there has to be royal line in my bloodline somewhere because I take far too much joy looking down at people and being glad that I'm not where they are.
Fairly certain you actually mentioned that out loud to me.
I did. Okay. I'm like, I think... I definitely think
I pay attention.
This is definitely something that I'm far too comfortable with, is just looking at other people. The problem is the formality.
Looking down on
That's
other
what
people.
I said.
Okay.
The formality of being royal would not go well for me.
Sure.
In a million years, I'd be like, oh, yes, well, that's Princess Jamie. Just ignore her. She goes on the side. She'll never rule. Don't worry, everyone. You won't have to deal with that. That would be my life. And she died a very lonely lady. Because no princess thought she was not awkward, and they couldn't deal with it.
And had a Viking funeral.
Dude, I want a Viking funeral. It'd be amazing.
Well, we're going to die at the same time, so
that's right. I forgot. We'll be like those lions at the zoo.
I know.
They'll put us to sleep together, and then put us out in a boat with hay, and we'll burn, and that'll be the end of it. Actually, Mackenzie will be
nice Darth Vader death.
Mackenzie will be like, you know what? I want to do it. I'll do the arrow, you guys.
That would be Kenzie. She'd be like, absolutely not, unless I get to shoot
the arrow. It's true. Right. Anyway, all right. Well, that's all I have. What do you have?
That's it. We're good.
All right. Well,
thanks for letting me sit in.
You're welcome. And everybody, next week, Paula will be back, and we will talk more crap and more whatever.
Drops Wednesday.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening and sharing the show. See you next time on The Ugly Truth.